لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. Brothers, sisters in faith, أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم وحياكم الله. يا هلا والله يا هلا والله يا هلا والله يا هلا والله. We are continuing our tafsir of Sheikh Abdul Rahman bin Nasr al-Sa'di's tafsir rahimahullah ta'ala, particularly Surah Al-Qasas, ayah number 10. And without further ado, إليكم الرجل الصغير Mussab.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وأصبح فؤاد أم موسى فارغا إن كادت لتبدي به لولا أن ربطنا على قلبها لتكون من المؤمنين وقالت لأخته قصيه فبصرت به عن جنوب وهم لا يشعرون وحرمنا عليه المراضع من قبل فقالت هل أدلكم على أهل بيت يكفلونه لكم وهم له ناصحون فرددناه إلى أمه كي تقر عينها ولا تحزن ولتعلم أن وعد الله حق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون.
Thank you, sir. And the heart of Moses' mother became empty of all else. She was about to disclose the matter concerning him, had we not bound fast her heart that she would be of the believers. And she said to her sister, follow him. So she watched him from a distance while they perceived not. And we had prevented for him all wet nurses before. So she said, shall I direct you to a household that will be responsible for him while they are to him for his upbringing sincere? So we restored him to his mother that she might be content and not grieve, and that she would know that the promise of Allah is true, but most of the people do not know. Right. So what does the Shaykh rahimahullah say in regards to these particular ayat? ولما فقدت موسى أمه حزنت حزنا شديدا. And after Moses' mother basically lost her child, she was grieved tremendously. وأصبح فؤادها فارغا من القلق الذي أزعجها على مقتضى الحال البشرية. And her heart became empty because of the stress that had bothered her, and that is just as per human nature. I mean, you can imagine a mom, the mom's defense mechanism when her child is being attacked. And as we've mentioned many times, we've seen many videos. I kind of like watching those types of videos on YouTube or Facebook or whatever I come across, where, you know, like something happens and then the parents basically save their kids. Whether it is like a possible car accident, car about to run over the kid, the father jumps and, you know, saves his son or daughter, or the mother. Even if a dog is attacking them, they will make themselves, they will protect their children by exposing themselves to the attack. That's crazy if you think about it. So if there's a child and a mother, or a child and a father, or a child and parents, and a dog seeks to attack the child, believe it or not, your parents will jump in between you and the dog, and they will get bit instead of you, and they will get, you know, I don't know, gored, even if it's a bull, in order to protect you. That's just human instinct. It's not something that they trained on. It's not like we went to school, you know, special parent school, and they told us, oh, by the way, if your child is ever under attack, make sure to place yourself in between the child and the danger so that you endanger your own life. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing that for sure. Maybe if people thought about it, they wouldn't even do it. But it's that instinct, that fitrah that Allah placed in parents, and how they go about looking after their children. Sometimes parents go to extreme in looking after their children, and their children assume that they're actually not looking after them, they're just out there to oppress them. And you hear this a lot. I hear this complaint from all types of people all the time. My mom is always like this. My mom is always criticizing me. My mom is giving me a hard time. Your mom just wants you to be better than her. All right? And that's the only way she knows how to do it. We're not justifying the wrong and the oppression, but for the most part, it doesn't come from oppression. It comes from lack of emotional channelism. She doesn't know how to channel her emotions. She doesn't know how to adequately address the issue, so she wind up doing what shouldn't be done. Nevertheless, though, I highly doubt that it will come from an evil place. That parents do this from an evil place. They always have, for the most part. I think there were some minor exceptions in the world. It comes from a good place. It comes with good intentions. Bad application, wrong application, misapplication. No doubt. But you all need to understand that, so when you deal with your own parents, you have the proper perception. Bearing in mind that there are exceptions to the rule. المهم مع أن الله تعالى نهاها عن الحزن والخوف ووعدها برده. Even though Allah had promised her, Allah had prohibited her from being sad and from fear, and He promised her that He will return him to her. But that's human nature. إن كادت لتبدي به أي بما في قلبها. She almost exposed and mentioned and spoke about and revealed what's in her heart, right? She almost did. لولا أن ربطنا على قلبها, had we not bound fast her heart. فثبتناها فصبرت ولم تبدي به. So Allah Azza wa Jal said, so the Shaykh said, so we made her firm, so she was patient and she didn't disclose that secret. لتكون بذلك الصبر والثبات. So she will be, due to this patience and firmness, من المؤمنين, among the believers. فإن العبد إذا أصابته مصيبة فصبر وثبت. Verily the slave, if a calamity befalls him and he is patient and he's firm, ازداد بذلك إيمانه. Subsequently, his iman will increase. His iman will increase. When you're afflicted with a calamity and you're patient and you remain firm, it's going to cause your iman to increase. ودل ذلك على أن استمرار الجزع مع العبد دليل على ضعف إيمانه. And that also indicates that the continuity of panic upon the slave in that case is indicative of the weakness of faith. Turn off the AC for a few minutes, please. Is indicative of the weakness of faith. So when you're afflicted with any type of calamity of some sort and you remain unstable and you continue to struggle for longer than you need to, you're not patient, you're not firm, it's indicative of the weakness of iman. Something is wrong with the iman. Otherwise, you should persevere. That's the key word here. It's the key word here. Otherwise, you should persevere. You should hang in there. You should continue. Don't give up. Not better than the prophets. You're not better than the messengers. And you're not better than the more righteous people that preceded you who were afflicted in the greatest afflictions. What's the name of the man who had the sawma'a? The one whose mother called him while he was praying from Bani Israel. And he said, Ummi, he said, Ay ya Rabb, Ummi wa Salah. Which one do I choose? My mom or the Salah? And then he would continue praying. He ignored his mom. And then his mom called him a second time and a third time, after which he made dua that he doesn't die until he sees the faces of prostitutes. Hey Jurayj, أحسنت يا ابن بطوطة, أحسنت يا شيخ. وحش والله. Jurayj, man was just chilling, worshipping his Lord, يعني handling his bit low key, low profile, low key, يعني ما يبغى لا مشاكل ولا وجع دماغ. Huh? And next thing you know, a woman comes and claims that he was the father of the child, and the people revolt against him and they destroy his sawma'a. And يعني the man went through some stuff because his mom made dua against him. And why did his mom make dua against him? Because he kept praying instead of listening to her. Not because he was on the Xbox, or not because he was on the PC, not because he was doing something else. He was praying. And he gave precedence to the salah over his mom. And his mom made dua against him, and Allah replied. Allah responded to the dua of his mother. And the man went from being a devout worshiper to being accused and slandered of adultery and fornication and zina. And a child being attributed to him that he was not, he was free from. And his home of worship was destroyed. And his life turned upside down because his mom made a dua against him because he chose to pray instead of obey his mom. That's why the scholars say if you're praying a voluntary prayer and your mom calls you, you leave the prayer and you respond to your mom. Okay? You leave the prayer and you respond to your parents. Today, you tell this to the children, not who are praying, who are playing. Playing, not praying, playing. And they don't respond, and they don't care, and they don't take heed, and they don't comply. And then they tell you long stories and long lectures and philosophical presentations about the awkward situation in every other nation, because you can't arrive at your destination if you're in a state of fermentation. Yeah? That's what it is. It's a reminder for those who have a heart and a mind that understands. My advice to kids, y'all need to be careful, man. Lest one day your mom and dad snap and make a dua against you and it will end your life. And I will not forget that brother. I forgot his name, but I haven't forgotten him because I met him in person. A brother here in Saudi whose father made dua against him because he was smoking. And then he jumped into a pool and he landed on his head in the pool and he became paralyzed. Paralyzed from neck down. Can't do nothing. Can't use his arms. Can't use his legs. And obviously it was a wake-up call for him. And since then, he would go around giving da'wah and reminding the people about the rights of Allah and about the rights of the parents. And the irony of all ironies is that the parents from whom he was running and whom he was disobeying, they turn out to be the ones who had to look after him in a state of complete decapitation. Complete inability to move. They clean him, even though he's a grown man. When he goes to the bathroom, if he goes to the bathroom, I don't know how they did it. They feed him everything. Everything. I know him in person. I met him in person when I was involved in da'wah here. I can look up his name somewhere on my phone. These are true stories, brothers and sisters. That's why I'm telling you, man, don't mess around with your parents, yo. Some of you take these matters way too lightly. You think it's a joke until it hits you. So please have mercy on your soul. الله المستعان. طيب. وقالت موسى لأخته قصيه أي اذهبي فقصي الأثر عن أخيك وابحثي عنه. So the mother told his sister then to go and follow him, and search for him. من غير أن يحس بك أحد, without anyone feeling or knowing about it. أو يشعروا بمقصودك, or they feel or sense your intent. فذهبت تقص, so she went following him and searching for him. فبصرت به عن جنب وهم لا يشعرون, أي أبصرته على وجه كأنها مرة لا قصد لها فيه. So she walked by, she saw him while she was just walking by as though she's not really looking for him. You know what I'm saying? She was basically casual about it. She casually walked by and casually saw him. وهذا من تمام الحزم والحذر, and that is a sign of being very wary and careful. فإنها لو أبصرت وجاءت إليهم قاصدة, because if she saw him like willingly and she came like seeking, لظنوا بها أن هي التي ألقت, they would think that she's the one who threw him into the water, into the river. So if she came with that like willful intent, they would have been suspicious about her motives. فربما عزموا على ذبحه عقوبة يعني, maybe then they would have proceeded to slaughter him just to punish his family. ومن لطف الله بموسى وأمه أن منعه من قبول ثدي امرأة. And from Allah's mercy to Musa and his mother, that Allah Azza wa Jal prevented him from accepting any breast of any woman. He refused all women breasts, and I'm translating the exact words, and we understand by that nursing. He refused to nurse from anyone but his mom. فأخرجوه إلى السوق رحمة به. So they took him out to the market as means of being merciful to him. ولعل أحدا يطلبه, and perhaps someone will come and ask for him. فجاءت أخته وهو بتلك الحال. So his sister came while he's in that condition. فقالت هل أدلكم على أهل بيت يكفلونه لكم وهم له ناصحون. وهذا جل غرضهم. This is exactly what they were looking for. So she just casually said, should I not tell you about a family, direct you to a household that will be responsible for him? So on and so forth. فإنهم أحبوه حبا شديدا. They loved him tremendously. So Allah placed the love of Musa in the hearts of these people, Pharaoh and his family. وَقَدْ مَنَعَهُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمَرَاضِعِ فَخَافُوا أَنْ يَمُوتَ. And since they tried to bring all these different women to nurse him, breastfeed him, and he refused all of them, and they were afraid that he will die, they kind of felt, it's like an opportunity for him to survive now that someone is offering to take him to a household that will take care of them. فلما قالت لهم أخته تلك المقالة المشتملة على الترغيب في أهل البيت بتمام حفظه وكفالته والنصح له. When his sister then told him this statement that indicated her keenness on his family, this household that will look after him, preserve him, sponsor him, be sincere towards him, بادروا إلى إجابتها. They hastened to accept her invitation. فأعلمتهم ودلتهم على أهل هذا البيت. So she informed them and guided them to the household, that household. فرددناه إلى أمه. So then we returned him to his mother. We restored him to his mother. كما وعدناها بذلك, as Allah Azza wa Jal had previously promised her. كي تقر عينها ولا تحزن, so that she would be content and not grieve. بحيث إنه تربى عندها على وجه تكون فيه آمنة مطمئنة تفرح به وتأخذ الأجر الكثير على ذلك. So now he's being raised with her in a manner where she is safe and she's in a state of tranquility, she's happy, and then on top of that she's also getting paid a handsome amount of money and a wage for doing that, because obviously for the Pharaoh and his people, they were just hiring someone. They're technically hiring someone to nurse him, and in the reality he's her son, he's the lady's son, his mother's son, so she would have nursed him anyways. Now she's getting paid for it. That's as good as it gets. Man, are you guys kidding me right now? Yeah, B wala C wala D. In the middle of a tafsir class, you sit there worry about my beard, ya akhi, and you're going to interrupt the whole class and people are going to answer you. Do I hit myself with a phone or with a siwak, or what do I do? Come on, people, man. Come on, man. Leave my beard alone, ya sheikh. Khalas, don't trim your beard. If I trim my beard, don't trim yours. You know the ruling? Follow the ruling. We're going to have this discussion every single time. We're going to give you a lesson about what I do with my face. Astaghfirullah al-azim wa tubu ilayh. What a distraction, man. I don't even know where I was. طيب. ولتعلم أن وعد الله حق فأريناها بعض ما وعدناها به عيانا ليطمئن بذلك قلبها ويزداد إيمانها. So she will know that the promise of Allah is true, and basically we made her see some of that which Allah promised her with her own eye, so that she might find that peace of mind and that comfort with that. Her heart might be comfortable with that, and her iman might increase. Hey. وَلِتَعْلَمَ أَنَّهُ سَيَحْصُلُ وَعْدُ اللَّهِ فِي حِفْظِهِ وَرِسَالَتِهِ, and that she will further know that the promise of Allah shall materialize in terms of protecting him and making him a messenger. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. However, most of the people do not know. فَإِذَا رَأُوا السَّبَبَ مُتَشَوِّشًا شَوَّشَ ذَلِكَ إِيمَانَهُم. If they see that the means that Allah Azza wa Jal had decreed, they're a little bit off, it makes their iman off. Yani if it's not 100% in front of them, they need it. If it's not to their liking, then they will get thrown off immediately. Whereas the people of iman, they could filter through those things. لعدم علمهم أن الله تعالى يجعل المحن والعقبات شاقة, because they don't know that Allah Azza wa Jal, they don't have that full knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal regarding the fact that He makes the tribulations and the hurdles sometimes difficult. بين يدي الأمور العالية والمطالب الفاضلة. So when Allah Azza wa Jal wants to decree, or when Allah decrees something great and tremendous to happen and of great impact, then Allah Azza wa Jal also decrees that those hurdles and obstacles that lead to that great thing are also of great magnitude. You understand? So if something big is going to happen, it doesn't happen with little resistance or with a small time tribulations. No, it's big time tribulations leading to big time results. فاستمر موسى عليه الصلاة والسلام عند آل فرعون يتربى في سلطانهم ويركب مراكبهم ويلبس ملابسهم. الله أكبر. So Musa alayhi salam remained with the people of Fir'aun, being raised in their dominion and riding their, whatever vehicles that they were riding, whatever they had back then, and wearing of their clothes. وَأُمُّهُ بِذَلِكَ مُطْمَئِنَّةٌ, and his mother is completely comfortable and satisfied. قَدْ استقر أنها أمه من الرضاع. It is already known to everybody that she's his wet mom. Is that what they call it? A wet mother, or she's his nursing mother, right? وَلَمْ يُسْتَنْكَرْ مُلَازَمَتُهُ إِيَّاهَا وَحُنُوهَا عَلَيْهِ, and no one will have a problem with her being with him all the time or being compassionate towards him. وتأمل هذا اللطف وصيانة نبيه موسى من الكذب في منطقة وتيسير الأمور الذي صار به التعلق بينه وبينها. And pay attention now. No, I'm blocking this guy. What nurse? Yeah, there you go. I said what, mom? Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah. I always have like a handful of people that are always, mashallah, in standby mode to fill in the blanks for all my mishaps. Thank you very much. طيب. So where was I? Yeah. So pay attention now to this very subtle maintenance that Allah Azza wa Jal provided Musa with. How they avoided lying in his speech. So there was no lies made. وتيسير الأمر الذي صار به التعلق بينه وبينه, and how Allah facilitated the matter in which there will be a connection between him and his mother. الذي بان للناس هو الرضاع الذي بسببه يسميها أما. The fact that she's his wet nurse, his mother, and so because of nursing, so according to the people, if he calls his mom, it's valid. You understand? فكان الكلام الكثير منه ومن غيره في ذلك كله صدقا وحقا. So whatever was said from him and from others, it was all actually true and sound. You understand? ولما بلغ أشده. Oh, we didn't read that. So ayah number 14, يا مصعب.
ولما بلغ أشده واستوى آتيناه حكما وعلما وكذلك نجزي المحسنين ودخل المدينة على حين غفلة من أهلها فوجد فيها رجلين يقتتلان هذا من شيعته هذا من شيعته وهذا من عدوه فاستغاثه الذي من شيعته على الذي من عدوه فوكزه موسى فقضى عليه قال هذا من عمل الشيطان إنه عدو مضل مبين قال رب إني ظلمت نفسي فاغفر لي فغفر له إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
Thank you, sir. All right. And when he attained his full strength and was mentally mature, we bestowed upon him judgment and knowledge, and thus do we reward the doers of good. And he entered the city at a time of inattention by its people and found therein two men fighting, one from his faction and one from his enemy, one from among his enemy. And the one from his faction called for help to him against the one from his enemy. So Moses struck him and unintentionally killed him. Moses said, "This is from the work of Satan. Indeed, he is a manifest misleading enemy." He said, "My Lord, indeed I have wronged myself, so forgive me." And he forgave him. Indeed, he is the forgiving, the merciful. The Shaykh rahimahullah said, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ مِنَ الْقُوَّةِ وَالْعَقْلِ وَاللُّبِّ. So when he reached that maturity or that full strength in terms of his physical strength and in terms of his mental state and wisdom. وَذَلِكَ نَحْوَ 40 سَنَةٍ فِي الْغَالِبِ. And that is around the age of 40. 40, brothers. My brothers in Islam, around the age of 40, you should reach your maximum potential physical strength. In this day and time, at 40, our brothers and the sisters sometimes are already in their, later stage of life. They're already deteriorating. They're physically unfit and they lead an unhealthy lifestyle and they're flimsy or they're overweight or whatever the case may be. And we got to keep it real. 40 is when you're supposed to be at your peak. And you should see some of the beasts we have at the gym who are 40 and above. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So please understand that it's not that when you're 18 or 20, this is your prime. Your prime is actually at the age of 40, but we're so off in our eating habits and our lifestyle so that people actually achieve that at a young age. And by the time they're 40, which is when they're supposed to be at their peak, they've already started the spiraling down way earlier than necessary. So some brothers, you look at them at 40 and he looks like he's your grandfather. You understand what I'm saying? Bismillah. And that is no bueno, señores and señoritas. No bueno. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? No, that's not true. At the Prophet ﷺ also, at the age of 40. And all that, it's not true that it's because of the time of Musa. Right now, if you take care of yourself, but when you're 40, you reach that full, complete cycle. You just don't know because you don't know. I'm going to forgive it. I'm going to pretend that I didn't read this. Number one. Number two, forget about physical fitness. خلاص يا أخي, خليك 3,000 kilos. That's not the point. Maturity, mental maturity is at the age of 40. That's why teenagers will never understand that they're teenagers. So when you tell a 16, 17-year-old kid, yo, I'm telling you, you don't understand. Like, you genuinely don't. You think you understand, you don't understand. You could use this as an evidence. It's around 40 when you reach this ashud of yours. When you're 15, 20, you don't understand half of the things that are happening in the world. And the biggest evidence is each one of us can look at his own past and attest. Oh yeah, back then I was tripping. Back then I was tripping. You see what I'm saying? So bear in mind that 40 is a very significant age in the lives of the prophets and the messengers, and since we follow them in goodness, then that is a significant age for us as well. Meanwhile, and meaning, know your role when you're under 40. Know your role and your limitations when you're under 40. And if you're already, starting to miss out on that full strength, then you need to change your lifestyle, my brothers and sisters, so you could catch up and rectify what has already passed you. طيب المهم واستوى كملت فيه تلك الأمور آتيناه حكما وعلما. So when he reached that, when these things now became perfected to a degree, of course, like they reached their maturity level, we gave him then knowledge and judgment and knowledge. أي حكما يعرف به الأحكام الشرعية. So we gave him judgment via which he knows the rulings, the legislative rulings. ويحكم به بين الناس, and he judges among the people. وعلما كثيرا, and abundance of knowledge. وكذلك نجزي المحسنين, such we reward the doers of good. في عبادة الله المحسنين لخلق الله, those who are excellent in the worship of their Lord, in the worship of Allah, and those who are excellent towards the creation of Allah. يعطيهم علما وحكما بحسب إحسانهم. Allah will give those people knowledge and judgment according to how well they are in worshiping their Lord and how well they are with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah make us among them. ودل هذا على كمال إحسان موسى عليه السلام. This is all indicative also of the perfection of the level of excellence that Musa was in عليه الصلاة والسلام. ودخل المدينة على حين غفلة من أهلها, إما وقت القائلة أو غير ذلك من الأوقات التي بها يغفلون عن الانتشار. So he either entered at the time of the siesta, not fiesta, at the time of siesta, from قائلة, from قيلولة, or other times where it is uncommon for people to be spread out in the streets. You know how it is in the streets. There are times where it's busy and it's people are all over the place. It's like a human traffic. And there are times where the streets are empty. It's just all you hear is just, the sound of the wind blowing. فوجد فيها رجلان يقتتلان أي يتخاصمان ويتضاربان. He saw two men engaging in a scuffle. حلو. هذا من شيعته أي بني إسرائيل. One of them from his faction, meaning from the children of Israel. وهذا من عدوه القبط, and the other one was from his enemies, the Coptics. And the Coptics have been enemies to Muslims and Islam since then. فاستغاثه الذي من شيعته على الذي من عدوه. So then the one who was from his faction sought his help against his enemy. لأنه قد اشتهر وعلم الناس أنهم بني إسرائيل, because everybody had known already that Musa was from Bani Israel. واستغاثته لموسى دليل على أنه بلغ موسى عليه السلام مبلغا يخاف منه ويرجى من بيت المملكة والسلطان. And the fact that he sought help from Musa also indicates that Musa had already reached such a level where people kind of feared him. He was a person of authority because he comes from the royal family, more or less. فوكزه موسى أي وكز الذي من عدوه استجابة لاستغاثة الإسرائيلي. So Musa then basically struck him in responding to the intercession that was sought, or the intervention that was sought from his Israeli homeboy, basically. فقضى عليه أي أماته من تلك الوكزة لشدتها وقوة موسى. So he killed him because of that one strike was strong, and because of the strength of Musa alayhi salam. Musa was very strong. Again, at the age of 40. فندم موسى عليه السلام على ما جرى منه. So Musa, may Allah, may peace be upon him, he was regretful over what happened. وقال هذا من عمل الشيطان. He said, this is from the work of the devil. This is from the work of Satan. أي من تزيينه ووسوسته. This is part of his adorning and adorning the ugly and the wrong, and his whispers, his evil whispers, secretive whispers. إنه عدو مضل مبين. He is verily a manifest misleading enemy. فلذلك أجريت ما أجريت بسبب عداوته البينة وحرصه على الإضلال. That's why all this happened, because of his clear enmity and his keenness on misguiding people. ثم استغفر ربه. Then Musa alayhi salam sought forgiveness from his Lord. فقال رب إني ظلمت نفسي. He said, my Lord, I have wronged myself. فاغفر لي. فغفر له. So forgive me. So Allah forgave him. إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Allah is the all forgiving, most merciful. خصوصا للمخبتين إليه. Specifically those who humble themselves before him. المبادرين للإنابة والتوبة. Those who hasten to return and to repent. كما جرى من موسى عليه السلام. Just like what happened with Musa عليه السلام. فقال موسى رب بما أنعمت علي. So, no, we didn't read this ayah. Now, read ayah number 17 onwards, please.
قال رب بما أنعمت علي فلن أكون ظهيرا للمجرمين فأصبح في المدينة خائفا يترقب فإذا الذي استنصره بالأمس يستصرخه قال له موسى إنك لغوي مبين فلما أن أراد أن يبطش بالذي هو عدو لهما قال يا موسى أتريد أن تقتلني كما قتلت نفسا بالأمس إن تريد إلا أن تكون جبارا في الأرض وما تريد أن تكون من المصلحين.
All right, shukran. طيب. He said, my Lord, for the favor you bestowed upon me, I will never be an assistant to the criminals. And he became inside the city fearful and anticipating exposure. When suddenly the one who sought his help the previous day cried out to him once again. Moses said to him, indeed, you are an evident, persistent deviator. And when he wanted to strike the one who was an enemy to both of them, he said, oh Moses, do you want to kill me as you killed someone yesterday? You only want to be a tyrant in the land and do not want to be of the amenders? And we didn't read that. Okay, tamam. So what does the Shaykh Rahimahullah say in commenting on these particular ayat? So فقال موسى ربي بما أنعمت علي بالتوبة والمغفرة والنعم الكثيرة. Oh my Lord, because of what you have bestowed upon me of favors, such as repentance and forgiveness and abundant of provision. فلن أكون ظهيرا أي معينا ومساعدا. I will not be an assistant and a helper للمجرمين, to the criminals. أي لا أعين أحدا على معصية. I will never help anyone in disobedience. I will never help anyone in sin. And that is a reminder to my brothers and sisters and myself in faith to be careful of facilitating sins for others. I don't understand why people don't realize the magnitude of this aspect of our religion. For instance, I know a number of brothers, mashallah, tabarakallah, whom Allah guided and facilitated repentance for them from smoking, especially the vapors. And then what happens is, now that they're done with smoking, the shaitan makes these suggestions fruitless suggestions of sell this vape to someone else or give it away to someone else. And so they unknowingly, ignorantly sell it or give it to someone. So now that the vaping continues through someone else. Yeah, Captain, يعني أنت you saved yourself from your own sin. Now you're going to bear the sin of someone else. It doesn't work this way. You cannot. Someone tells you, look, you don't smoke, but you're coming from this country. Allah khalik, bring for me a box of cigarettes, a carton of cigarettes. Buy me this, buy me that. Anything that is haram. You cannot facilitate that sin for them. You cannot be a catalyst in disobedience. You cannot be an element in the equation. You cannot be part of the process. You can't. Doesn't matter what people tell you. Say, nope, sorry, can't help. But brother, please. Hey, brother, please, you. You please. It's not about please. It's about keeping it real. I'm not willing to bear this sin. I have sins of my own. Are you kidding me? I'm barely managing my own disasters. I want to carry yours as well and another 100 people. And that's why when y'all post some practicing brothers and sisters, I assume they're practicing, they nonchalantly post stories with music. Sometimes we do it by mistake. But those who if you do it by mistake, someone notifies you, alhamdulillah, case closed. But if you're doing it willingly, why? Why are you causing 100,000 people to listen to this music? They might look up the song and get hooked to the song and listen to it every day, and you become the service provider. So the way you manage your social media is very sensitive when it comes to the issues of the sin that transgresses beyond you to the rest of the people, where you're facilitating sins for others. And here's Musa saying, فَلَنْ أَكُونَ ظَهِيرًا لِلْمُجْرِمِينَ. I will never aid anyone in sin. وهذا وعد من موسى عليه السلام بسبب منة الله عليه ألا يعين مجرما كما فعل في قتل القبطي. So this is from the promise of Musa, because of Allah bestowing his favor upon him, that he will never aid a criminal, as in the case of what happened when he killed the Coptic man. وهذا يفيد أن النعم تقتضي من العبد فعل الخير وترك الشر. And this necessitates that the bounties you receive, they necessitate from the slave to do good and to leave alone evil. فلما جرى منه قتل الذي هو من عدوه قتل الذي هو من عدوه. So after the event took place of him killing his enemy, أصبح في المدينة خائفا يترقب. He was then fearful in the city, worrying about himself, basically. How do they put it here? Yeah, anticipating. أصبح في المدينة خائفا يترقب هل يشعر به آل فرعون أم لا. Will the people of Fir'aun pay attention to what happened or no? وإنما خاف لأنه قد علم أنه لا يتجرأ أحد على مثل هذه الحال سوى موسى من بني إسرائيل. Turn on AC, please. So he only became scared because he knew قد علم, and no one will dare to do something like this except Musa from Bani Israel. No one will dare to go and kill a Coptic man. فبينما هو على تلك الحال, بسم الله, while he was in this condition, فإذا الذي استنصره بالأمس على عدوه, the one who was seeking his help the day before against his enemy, يستصرخه على قبطي آخر. Now he's seeking his help for another Coptic man. This guy was a troublemaker, basically, just starting fights with the people in the street. قال له موسى موبخا حاله. Musa told him in reprimand, إنك لغوي مبين, أي بين الغواية ظاهر الجرأة, meaning it's clear your deviation and your audacity. فلما أراد أن يبطش موسى, so when Musa alayhi salam wanted to strike also the other one, بالذي هو عدو لهما, their enemy, the one who's enemy for both of them, أي له وللمخاصم المستصرخ لموسى, meaning an enemy to him and the one who Musa called for help, the one who called Musa for help, أي لم يزل اللجاج بين القبطي والإسرائيلي وهو يستغيث موسى. So there's this argumentation taking place between the Coptic and the Israeli while he's seeking help from Musa. فأخذته الحمية, حتى هم أن يبطش بالقبطي. So now he was overtaken by like emotions and what is it, febrile, some term like this. Yeah. And he wanted to strike the Coptic. فقال له القبطي زاجرا له عن قتله. So the Coptic man said to him in an effort to deter him from killing him, أتريد أن تقتلني كما قتلت نفسا بالأمس؟ إن تريد إلا أن تكون جبارا في الأرض. لأن من أعظم آثار الجبار في الأرض قتل النفس بغير الحق. One of the greatest indications of being a tyrant upon earth is killing the soul with no right, killing another soul with no right. وما تريد أن تكون من المصلحين, and you don't want to be among the rectifiers, among the amenders. وإلا فلو أردت الإصلاح, otherwise if you really wanted rectification, لحلت بيني وبينه من غير قتل أحد, you would have just intervened between us, you would have blocked us from fighting each other without having to kill anybody. فانكف موسى عن قتله ورعوه لوعظه وزجره. And so Musa refrained from killing him, and he basically took on board his admonishment and his prevention. وشاع الخبر بما جرى من موسى في هاتين القضيتين حتى تراود ملأ فرعون وفرعون على قتله. So then the news spread about those two incidents, so much so that Fir'aun and his people now wanted to kill him. وتشاوروا على ذلك, and they had their secret conversations regarding that. They had their consultations. فقيد الله ذلك الرجل نصر. Allah Azza wa Jal decreed or utilized this sincere advisor. وبادرهم إلى الإخبار لموسى بما اجتمع عليه رأي ملئهم, and he was keen and he hastened to tell Musa what the Fir'aun and his people had already decided regarding him. فقال وجاء رجل من أقصى المدينة يسعى. A man came from the farthest part of the city, basically from the farthest place of the city, end of the city. He was running, and what happened? راقدا على قدميه من نصحه لموسى وخوفه أن يوقع به قبل أن يشعر. And he was running on his feet because he was keen on delivering that advice to Musa, and out of fear that they will be able to capture him before he gets to advise him. فقال يا موسى إن الملأ يأتمرون. He said, "Oh Musa, the people are conferring over," meaning they want to kill you. أي يتشاورون فيك, meaning they are consulting one another regarding you. ليقتلوك, so they can kill you. فاخرج عن المدينة, so go out of the city. إني لك من الناصحين فامتثل نصحه. I am indeed among the advisors to you. So then Musa took his advice on board. And inshallah with this we will conclude this particular dars and have just a few minutes for Q&A. This was ayah number 21 and page 1227, I believe. Come on. Oh, page, how is it 1333? Yeah, it's 1333. طيب. Stop sharing. Can I do general dhikr like saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar to fulfill obligation of giving charity for every joint every day the sun rises? I don't understand this, Muhandis. I don't know the answer. You asked me this, I don't know the answer. I know that what will suffice you is rak'atayn al-duha. That every joint in your body requires a sadaqah, and rak'atayn al-duha will suffice you. You want to use another mean alternative, I don't know. Do I have to fast the 3 days for oath expiation consecutively? So then I would fast a day, then the next day, then next day. Yeah, but who told you that you opt for fasting first? Check the ayah. The ayah gives you fasting at the end, but first you need to feed 10 masakin or clothe them, or free a slave, and if you can't find, then you fast 3 days. And as far as I know, they have to be consecutive. Yes. I'm a Latino convert and married my wife who doesn't wear hijab without me knowing how important it is. She wants to wear, and now I influence her, but she is scared. Will I be punished when I die? Wallahi, Javier, It depends on some of the nuances that I can't pick up from the question. Obviously, whatever you did out of ignorance, you're excused. Hello. Now that you know, yes, you have an obligation to make sure that your wife is in line with what is right. And if you don't fulfill your obligation, then you are sinful. Now, what happened before, during, and after, I can't put my finger on it because it's too broad. The question is too broad. Just the generic answer. Whatever you did out of ignorance, you're excused. Now that you know, you have to take action. Now, we know how Musa was saved, but how was his brother Harun saved when they were slaughtering the children? That's a good question. I'm not familiar with how that happened. It's a good question, yeah, Apple Z. I wish you would change your name. It's a Galaxy Z. Try Galaxy Z, it's much better. Next. Yalla ya Hujjaj. Hello. What? Yeah. But it's still though, how did he survive that time? Maybe they had stopped killing them. I don't know. We know that he's younger. But he's not that much younger. Here in Turkey, Imam does congregational dua after Jumu'ah. Is it not a common bid'ah? Absolutely it is. It's a common bid'ah everywhere. Almost everywhere in the world. Allah al-Musta'an. Who cares? Just give us a proper question, please. Okay, Javier. I don't know. I don't know X-Men. I don't know who X-Men are, and I don't know how it's pronounced. I know that back in where I came from, where I lived in Los Angeles, the X was pronounced J, and the J is Javier, or like Jose. Jose. That's what I know. Anyways, we're not going to have a lesson about this right now. Who cares? Said, how do you reconcile the saying of Imam Tahawi, the 6 directions do not surround him? And who said that we have to be concerned about Imam Tahawi? And what makes you think that the Aqidah Tahawiyah is absolutely in line with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? That's why I stick to the Aqidah al-Wasitiyah that we have every week, ya Mhandis. Now, in what manner should we deal with the Tablighis? I think one reason da'wah is weak in the area I live is because brothers who would call to the non-Muslims are pulled into the jama'at. Well, I have a lecture, yeah, Sheikh, titled Take It or Take It. And I gave my advice to Tablighis. I gave my advice, and how we should deal with them is that these are brothers who have good intentions. They're striving to give da'wah. We need to correct their ways. How we deal with them is we accommodate and we include them in what is good. We guide them. We help them instead of shunning them, because most of them don't know any better. They're just ignorant. Next. People in internet uploading Quranic recitation with the name Lofi theme Quran. Lofi is a category of music such as pop rock. Is doing active worship again and again considered as bid'ah? Well, yeah, I don't know what Lofi is, but if it's a category of music, then of course they cannot do that. What the heck? This is the book of Allah and the speech of Allah. It's not music or a genre of music. And doing an active worship again and again is bid'ah, yes, if you're doing it not in line with the Prophet ﷺ. Next. Yalla, yalla, yalla. Wa alaikum salam, kabayan. Ahsan alaykum. Hayyak Allah. Is it permissible to talk while answering the call of nature? There's a difference of opinion among the scholars. There's a difference of opinion among the scholars about talking while answering the call of nature. I know there's a fatwa on Islam QA. You should probably read it, because I mean it's a lot of evidences back and forth. Now, same thing with urinating while standing and all these different matters. What to do with the yearbooks from my school which have pictures? How do I get rid of them without making my parents disappointed? Put them in the bathroom. Well, putting them in a closet instead of my bookshelf suffice for angels entering the house. You need a fatwa for that. But if you can put them in a place where, like the bathroom, you can put a little cabinet in the bathroom and just put these. The angels don't enter. The angels don't enter the bathroom anyways, so you just keep the pictures over there. Now, some of the scholars will tell you, by the way, burn them down. If you want the original answer, printed pictures are haram. Printed pictures are haram. That's the bottom line. So the actual answer should be get rid of them. The conflict you're going to have with your parents is, I don't know what, they will lose their mind. I'm sure some of the parents will absolutely lose their mind if they don't practice Islam properly. So I'm giving you that answer to address the overzealous parents. Otherwise, there should be no printed pictures of yourself. Have a digital copy and call it a day. Hey. What editing software does Mussab use to edit videos? Ask him. No, just leave it. You can tell him later. Wa alaikum salam. What is your opinion on sword fighting? Is it a recommended sport to learn and practice as per the sunnah? Is there a good way to maintain fitness? I'm not an expert, akhi, on sword fighting, but I mean, I'm assuming you mean by sword fighting the one they use in the Olympics where you wear like this outfit where you look like a bee. Fencing, right? Are you talking about fencing? Because if you talk about sword fighting where you're going to pull out a sword and chop someone's arm off or someone's head off, then that is not a sport. That's not fitness. That's getting killed or killing someone. If you're talking about fencing, then that's a ridiculous looking sport, to be honest with you. I don't know how fit you're going to be by grabbing a thing and running forward and then going back and then going forward and going back. And then you just poke someone with a ball at the top of the sword. Yalla ya sheikh, sword fighting. This is called batikh mango. That is not called sword fighting. You mean fencing? If you want real fencing, go put a fence in front of your door and stand there. Not fencing, then what? What sword fighting, ya sheikh? I didn't know there was a sport called sword fight. Dagiga. Farouk, dagiga, ya sheikh. What sword fighting? If you're not talking about fencing, what sport do you have where you fight with a sword? Kill somebody. Ishbak. Call it wood fighting if you're using a wooden stick. No, I am not responsible for sword fighting. No sword fighting. It's haram. I'll let you go kill someone and put it on me. Blunt swords? Okay. Okay, blunt swords. Okay, it's cute. What is this, ya akhi? This, ya sheikh, Allah yarham Abu. You wasted half of our day with this weird question. Allah, we're going to have to sit there and make a study and go dig deep into whether you mean this or whether you mean that. Or is it a blunt sword, or is it a cigar, or is it joint? والله using a pipe. ايش هذا blunt وما blunt وما ادري ايش. خلاص يا اخي, do CrossFit, come with me to the gym. هلا huh? You guys are actually taking up from the time. بلا blunt swords بلا بطيخ. It looks funny. I'm going to tell you from now. You have a blunt sword where you just look funny. Anyways, I cannot tell you in this day and time that this is an actual on a battlefield. If ever Muslims are engaged in a war, you're going to go use a sword. I don't know what to tell you, akhi. Somebody will just put a bullet in your head and end all of your swinging stuff. You know, like that Bruce Lee stuff. You're like, خلاص يا عمي انا استغفر الله العظيم يا رب. يلا. Today in English, inshallah, is it appropriate to translate abd as slave or servant, both for the Prophet and generally? Yes, absolutely. Yes, in today's world, in front of a bunch of white people and black people and yellow people and brown people, I would say slave, the slave of Allah. I'm a slave of Allah and you're a slave of Allah, and the Prophet ﷺ is the slave of Allah. Naam, it's a slave, because the term slave does not mean only racial slavery, modern day racial slavery or ancient slavery. The term slave has broad meanings, and we have to take all of them into account. So yeah, I will use the term slave happily and willingly. What to do if the husband starts growing his beard and wife finds him unattractive to the point that she doesn't want to be intimate with him anymore? Married for 14 years, divorce not an option. Why is divorce not an option? Why is divorce not an option? Yani she finds her husband who obeys Allah and his messenger becomes unattractive because he's obeying. What is she? She wants Brad Pitt, yani mathalan, with her at home all day. Is that the objective of Islam right now? That your husband has to be a Brad Pitt looking individual, or I don't know who else is considered handsome in the modern world. Robert De Niro? No, Robert De Niro doesn't qualify. Al-Muhim, those guys from back in the day. What? You're just married to a Muslim man. You need to zip it. This wife needs to be quiet and chill out instead of being happy that her man has a beard. Al-Muhim, there's no such thing as divorce not an option. If she doesn't want to give him his right, he should divorce her with the quickness after he makes an effort to rectify her and bring her back to her senses. Now, yalla, that's enough. This part, yeah, according to the scholars, the opinion I'm familiar with, that this is not part of the beard. This is not part of the beard. So if you want to trim it, knock yourself out. Top guys, inshallah, I have to go. I do have a gym at 3 o'clock. It's 2:32 by the time I jump and get ready and leave. Thank you, Mustafa. I'll be late. Tomorrow, inshallah, we have the Aqidah class. You can continue asking your amazing questions then, inshallah. Oh, he's right. We promised to give him a Q&A in the middle of the week. Yeah, Mustafa, Baba, I'm online. I'm online, ya Sheikh. Okay, inshallah, we will. You're right, yeah, proud to be a Muslim. I didn't keep my word. I forgot. I will not promise, but we will make an effort to give you a 1 hour Q&A during this week, inshallah. Sorry, I gotta go. Not this week. I'm traveling this week. Inshallah, the following week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How do I leave? How do I leave this place?